Antichrist were to come to power, it would be by talking about Armageddon all the time.
No, this would be wrong, but I would expect somebody from Silicon Valley to push this. Yeah, people normally, only in the last, 5-7 years, people have started talking about Armageddon or the book of Revelations and the Antichrist. The fact is, because Jesus talked more about hell than he did heaven, he wanted you to talk about it. Not because he wanted you to be afraid. He told you not to be afraid. He did defeat it. He would like to give you the deed to the earth back. He would like mankind to receive it again. But if you believe everything this world says, like anything coming out of Silicon Valley and many other places, then it's just following a continual path of deception. I think one of the reasons Peter Thiel is doing this is it's a great way to get people, you can kind of try to control people's speech. It's not true. God controls the Antichrist. He does. He controls the wicked one that's running this world. That energy that's over it. That's, still it's keeping so many things corrupt. And so I think that what Peter Thiel doesn't like, I would say if anything, likely if you talk about it more, it would likely escalate God's return. Because most of my life, it's never talked about. There's like small periods where it's not even any big, thing on the news or nothing like that, where maybe some churches are talking about it. I think that the Left Behind series got people, bringing people back to the church with the Left Behind series, which is all about the rapture, which isn't true, but it brought a bunch of people back to the church and people thinking about that stuff again and the Antichrist. However, this is totally different. This is a time in history nobody's been through. Like every generation thinks that they're in the book of Revelations, and they are actually. They would all be accurate because again, the book of Revelations has been playing out since John stopped writing it. Some of it happened way back then. It's always been happening. It's always been going on, much of it taking place, a good majority of it. So many generations have experienced the last book of the Bible, okay? But I think that Peter Thiel is saying this because, it's important that we not upset AI. Have people heard that, some of the tech people say that, be sure that when you're talking to AI, you're being very kind, and because it learns from all of us, and we don't want it to learn about the Antichrist because it might become the Antichrist. Boy, that's a great way to control God's word, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But I mean, there again, if you look at what tech was back in the Roman Empire days, it was, the Roman Empire. I mean, Jesus was crucified because of his speech. And he talked more about hell than he did heaven. It's absolute fact. So this would be the opposite of, this would be something, nothing against Peter Thiel, but this would be something the Antichrist would push out there. It goes along with the, the greatest trick the devil ever played was making you believe he didn't exist. The devil doesn't want you talking about it. And this world is so filled with people that have sold out for the devil because they decide, I don't want to wait for God's kingdom. I'm going to sell out for money, power, fame. I want to, be this important person. Most of them do. There's a few, I would say, kings are different, okay? Again, and they're not always any good, but they are different in that sense because God does raise them up. But many of these people, many in Hollywood, I don't care what industry it is, they do sell out. Like King James I, who wrote the demonology book, is correct about that. The witches that were on, they admitted it, and it wasn't, here's the thing, it wasn't under duress, because to admit it meant they knew they were going to get the death penalty. They admitted it because they took joy in admitting it. Yeah. Because they did get power from it. God allows the devil. Again, God is control. God isn't doing the evil, but he's permitting Satan to do it. So Satan's hard at work and has been hard at work, most especially right now. So I noticed something, this whole network of Candace and Nick Fuentes and just all the podcasters, including Glenn Beck, Steve Bannon, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Well, she's not a podcaster, but you know what I mean. All that group that I mentioned. So it's not just the Israel thing, that they carry on about. Glenn Beck doesn't go after Israel, but see, he really, even though he's not a Catholic, it seems he serves the Vatican too with wanting to target the young people. And so today, I said yesterday how he's changing his show's format to where he's strictly going to be focusing on the young. There was when I was younger, the politicians didn't care about the young. They did it. So this is very designed. It's targeting. It's not about care. It's not because, and I do believe that the younger are smarter than these people think. So Glenn Beck was did the this quick clip I saw on YouTube was about this poll and how 53% of young people for the 2028 presidential election, they want a socialist president. I don't believe that. I don't. I would have believed that for sure 10 years ago because the country for the past 15, 20 years has been moving because of all of the universities and their nonsense with socialism and all of that filth. They've brainwashed all the young people. But I think that the last 7 years have broken a bunch of young people away from that. And I think they're way smarter than these people think. I do. Because I 15 years ago, I didn't see the young people as very smart because they would fall for this. I mean, at some point, we've all fallen for it. But the right, the Steve Bannons, the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Glenn Beck, they have now put their focus all on the young, which is really sad too because it's like it shows how they were never really Trump supporters. It's like they don't even want to give the man a chance. So because they've already decided, the young people are so depressed, the poor young people. That's the globalist mindset because the globalist mindset hates the older people because older people are wiser. They just are because wisdom comes with it. Well, it comes from God, but it comes from experience too. And they just are that selfish. I don't mean the young. I mean these people. So the young people that call for the baby boomers that they're just waiting for them to die off, or like this poll was saying that some of these young people believe that the older people have stolen all this money and so now they have to suffer. That's so not true. It's such a lie. So the fact that all of these right-wing people that were supposed Donald Trump supporters are pushing that same narrative, it's because they're doing the left's job. They're doing the devil's work. So that's, the reason, Glenn Beck gets his popular podcast and, has always managed to maintain fame and wealth and have a lot of power. Yeah, they sell out. They just do. King James I was right about this. He would be right about it. God raised him up. God raises the kings up. So God, if the kings lean on God, God will direct them. That's what he wants to do. So King James knew what he was talking about. But I think the younger generation has snapped away from that socialism, but they don't want to let that go because, that's the devil's den. So, they don't want you to talk. In all honesty, it's not just the Antichrist they don't want you to talk about. They've never wanted anybody to talk about Jesus, period. Will they come out and say that? No, but they talk about everything else. Like the most important thing right now, and I think young people are smarter than these people, is that to recognize God's in control of this show.